Hello, and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in this magical place in which we live. I'm honored today to have as a guest Dr. Jay Masterspn. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you.
Jay is the new principal of the Portsmouth Middle School. So welcome to the show and welcome to Portsmouth. I'm sure this is a big deal to step into this role, isn't it?
It has been. It's been a very supportive community, and I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I am thrilled to have you on the show. I want to tell our viewers I got to stop by the middle school and get the tour, and we'll talk all about it. Mm-hmm. But I know everybody's really anxious to just get to know who you are as a person. So do you mind winding back the clock? Tell us a little bit about your path and kind of how we got lucky to have you here.
Well, when I was in 5th grade, I had an excellent teacher. Her name was Miss Mary Nisi. And she inspired me to want to be a teacher.
We always have those teachers, right?
Yeah.
And so that was your teacher, all right?
But then also my parents did too. They were foster parents since I was 5 years old. And we've had over 250 foster children come through our house. And now I'm a foster parent myself. And that really helped me see what I really wanted to be was a special education teacher.
Oh my goodness, that's very powerful. And intense, it sounds like.
It was at times, but the other times, you know, we were family. You know, there was times where we had 10 to 13 kids in the house, and that's all we knew. So I didn't know anything different.
Wow, all right. But that inspired a pathway towards special education.
Mm-hmm.
So what did that look like for you?
So I went to Rick and got my special education degree, and I was able to get a job at Cumberland, at North Cumberland Middle School. I worked in a self-contained special education classroom. And my first principal was Dr. Kenworthy.
Right, so I love that connection because Dr. Kenworthy has been on this show.
Yes.
Love him, and that's neat that he knew you. So he was the principal when you were a brand new teacher.
Yep.
Okay.
So mainstream or inclusion setting was where we needed to go. So I went to Dr. Kenworthy. I said, can I start talking about including our students into the general population?
Yeah, so what does that mean? That means like getting them integrated with all the classrooms.
Typical peers.
Okay.
And being able to instruct them at their level that they need and start to bridge those gaps for learning.
So that was kind of like a cutting edge idea at the time.
Actually, technically it wasn't. It was cutting edge for Cumberland.
Okay.
There were just a couple of years in the making of getting to that point, so we just sped it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And from there, 4 years later, I applied for the assistant principal's job when Dr. Kelly moved on, and I was able to get it at 29.
Yes, the youngest ever, right?
Well,
am I remembering that
Probably
correctly?
at the time. Probably at the time. But it was a great experience because I could take my special education experience and bring it to the main office and really support a lot of students school-wide rather than just the students on my caseload.
Right. You have a pretty strong kind of leadership philosophy.
I believe in leadership. I believe that my first job is to build people up and to be able to support them in the capacity that they want to work at. And then once we start to build that relationship, all of our students will benefit in our families. And so that's been always important to me because I had people who took an interest in me, so I wanted to take an interest in them as well.
Yeah, so that's been what you have done at Cumberland. Then was it Cumberland to where?
The other middle school in Cumberland. So I went from North Cumberland Middle School to become the principal at McCourt Middle School at 32-ish,
All
33.
right, and then somehow we pulled you over here to the East Bay.
Yeah, after 19 years in Cumberland, I thought it was a good time to branch out and see what else is out there. And obviously Dr. Kenworthy and I have a relationship, and I said, hey, what about the possibility of working together again? So I applied and I was able to get the job. So I've been here since July, and it's been a great transition for me to see a different side of education, seeing 5th graders for the first time in my life.
You mentioned that, yeah. So you've been used to kind of like that 6th through 8th or 9th, and now the 5th graders. And you shared a really funny thing that your wife told you about smiling to those 5th graders. Tell our viewers about
I'm trying to smile more now. Yeah,
But that's a cute story, though.
Yeah.
Like, those fifth graders need something a little different, right?
Yeah, so my wife is an elementary paraprofessional in North Kingstown.
Yeah.
And she's been working since our son was 7, so he's now going to turn 18 in a couple months. So it's been about 11 years.
Yeah.
And she says, Jay, the fifth graders, they really like a smiling principal.
Right.
So when you go to that side of the school, you really need to shift your face a bit and your look. So
The eighth graders can handle, like, tough Jay,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's really awesome.
And they're just really cute, and the teachers work really hard, and it's just great community to be a part of. The parents have been supportive. The PTO has been great. It's been a nice experience, and I expect it's just going to continue as we
no
continue
doubt.
to grow with each other and our relationship building.
Yeah, so you started July, and like, what has been the super pleasant surprises? In addition to all those I'm glad you're feeling supported.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm not surprised one iota about that. But
No, I think it's being exposed to so many resources that are available in Portsmouth and for our students.
that you really didn't have in Cumberland.
It's hard. Cumberland has the second to lowest per pupil expenditure available in the state of Rhode Island. So there's a lot of limitations you learn to do without. And a lot of people really step up in Cumberland. They work really hard for their kids.
Yeah.
And not to say it doesn't happen in Portsmouth. It
Right.
just seems to see you have more abilities to purchase things, to provide after-school activities. We have over 25 staff members working after school with students on enrichment activities. And we just don't have funds for that in Cumberland. And to have that just readily available, you feel limitless, which is a nice place.
So let's lay the groundwork. I think some of our viewers don't even know how big the school is. What does it look like when you take a peek at the
Yes.
school from a student, teacher perspective?
So we have approximately 630 students, which comes at about 150 students per grade. So
Okay.
you start to look at 150 times 4, 600.
Right. And that's
so
about
give
what
or
the
take.
high school is too, right? Like,
About that, in Portsmouth High School has CTE programs, so you can have students from outside
CTE?
of career technical education. And so
right.
when you have a program in your district that's not being offered, you can potentially apply for other districts. So Portsmouth has a couple of programs that
Okay.
people take advantage of. And it's helpful to us because we're getting some families that are really strong and really academically want to provide an opportunity for their children.
Yeah.
So they're very motivated families.
And it starts as early as the middle school. Like, it's all connected, right?
Which we're trying to in Portsmouth, and I really relish the relationship that exists currently with our administrative team between the elementary schools, middle, and high school. We're really working together closely. It's really exciting because there's only 4 of us, 4 principals. So we can really have some connectivity between the elementary, middle, and high school. And we're trying to draw those connections between our offertory program at the Unified Arts level with band, the arts programs, the technology that's available with the CTE programs at the high school, because we want our students who live in town to also participate in the CTE programs, because it shows a level of investment as well as excitement. So when anyone who lives outside the community really sees what's going on, they want to be a part of it too.
Absolutely. I tell you, I just was touched when I got to come to the school and you showed me all of this stuff. You truly, when you say you're excited about this, you are very excited about
Very
this.
excited.
Like, that is authentic, genuine Jay, right?
Yep.
I got the tour of, like, the music rooms, the art room. Like, when you talk about resources that are available, let's kind of paint a picture for our viewers of, some of these kind of special things that are grant funded, and I know those teachers are working hard to make those things happen.
Yeah,
So,
our teachers work so hard to make experiences for our students. And a lot of families have no idea the amount of experiences their children have exposed to compared to other districts, like we've talked about with Cumberland.
Yeah.
So, for example, when I took you down, there's 3 music programs going on at the same time. There's a chorus program, the band program, and then the music composition development program.
Right.
There's also a music exploratory program that takes place as well.
Yeah.
There's band,
so
jazz band.
everyone gets some piece of music, and they get to choose.
It's definitely a music district, and it's really great to see, because one of the things that, if you're not an athlete, what do you have as an opportunity? And you have the ability to participate in the music arts, or also in the art program, which has 3D printing, the coding available with that, and technology, 21st century skills. So there's a lot of things that apply to real world life beyond school that you can get exposed to it as an exploratory. And then you can specialize when you start to go to the high school and start to really hone in on what is my interest. And then there's a complete path, right?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't believe as we walked around and for those that don't know, the music composition, we walked into a room that there were keyboards at every desk that were connected to a computer. Like I don't know, there might have been 20 or something.
There's a class set. So there's a class set. Ms. Phillips applied for a grant with permission of the district because we want to make sure that whatever we're applying can be replicated by the IT department. It all has to work together.
Yes.
And students were writing their own music. They were designing it, and then they were going to then be able to play it afterwards. So there's a lot of creativity that takes place.
Oh, yeah. So we got to see her in action, and she was saying they had just listened to something, and then those kids were trying to play it, and then it was coming up and being written on the music staffs. I mean, it was... I could not believe it. I went home, so I've got a high schooler now, and I was like, Wyatt, this was the coolest. And he's like, Mom, we had that. I don't know if that's true or not. I was unaware. So I guess that's the point is I just took it all for granted. I didn't know how cool it was. So it was lovely to have the tour. The music blew me away. The art, let's talk about the art a little bit more. 3D printers, right?
And those are starting to become more standard as investments taking place in education, but it's still not standard. And the ability of a 3D printer hasn't even been tapped yet. For our students have 3 of those abilities every week to design, let it build, and then work with it. It's a nice design process.
Yeah, and it really struck me as just something that was very practical. Like the things that those kids were doing, it wasn't frivolous, it wasn't busy work. It was like you can take those skills, those are transferable skills, for whatever they might end up doing.
Right.
And it was really special to see that, and special to see the teachers get all.
Right, and we didn't even take a trip to the farm. There's so many things that go on that, we have 240 students signed up for after-school activities.
Yeah. Let's talk very quickly about this farm, because that is a special thing. And we have had Marjorie Brennan on the show to give us a deep dive. But while we've got you, that must be kind of you must be like, whoa, Portsmouth does this?
Right. So, quick story, I've always wanted a farm. And then when I got hired, they were like, Jay, we really need you to support the farm. I was like, of course I am. I've always wanted one, and now we have one. Of course, I haven't been able to get down there yet.
Yeah.
But I
think you're a little busy introing to absolutely everyone.
Right. So it's definitely a goal of mine to change my clothes, get into my farm gear, and go down to the farm with the kids.
Yeah. Do you know how many kids are doing that particular program? It's a lot.
I believe we're at 30 per day, or 25 to 30, because we can only host that many based on staffing.
Yeah.
So we have a full-time farmer that we hired with the support of the Eastern Conservation District. So we work together with the grant that Mrs. Brennan received.
That's right.
So we have 2 groups of students that come each week and work at the farm.
Isn't that terrific? Just that opportunity.
One of the things that we've talked about with the high school is starting to have an agricultural CTE program since we do have the farm, because we don't want to lose any of our Portsmouth students to agricultural programs outside of the district. So we're starting that conversation now, which I'll let Dr. Heath be able to share that, in his interview.
Yes, he's coming
2 weeks.
on the show in a couple of weeks. I cannot wait. It's just so nice to introduce you both to the community and let you share your passion and everything. I mean, it really is wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about the, just IT resources and everything, and what's going on there at the middle school level.
So I love the fact that the IT department for the entire district is actually housed at the middle school.
Is it really?
Yeah, so we have a lot of relationship building that takes place, and they're always accessible whenever we need some support. But we also have an IT person, Mr. Spotholes, who is for the middle school. So, and he has a vast range of knowledge on a lot of the things that we have to know.
And he was a teacher there, or maybe still is.
He was a teacher, and now he's full-time in IT.
Full-time in IT.
So support for teachers.
He's passionate about that.
He is, and he just constantly is learning and demonstrating and teaching us new things every single week on whatever's happening new in technology.
Did that shift happen for him because of kind of COVID and all of the technology and everything that needed to happen that was so challenging for absolutely everyone?
So I actually asked him about that. I said, how'd you get into your role? And he said, I just was a self-starter. I started to learn about technology on my own. I started asking questions, and it got to a point they wanted someone who had a teacher perspective. And that way they could work with teachers on what they need help in. And this district, to its credit, has really made an investment in supporting schools with technology. Every school has that position available in the school. So that's amazing. Another thing that's not typical for districts.
Yeah, you're making me feel pretty special here. That Portsmouth is pretty special. It's like very nice to have your outside-in perspective here.
Off the island, that's what we call it.
Okay.
Jay's got the off-the-island perspective.
Yes, right? So when you get together with that team of your other administrative team, I like to hear, too, that you all are working so closely together. What's the nature of those conversations? The elementary, the high school.
Right.
Probably Thomas Kenworthy. I'm sure he's
so
part of there, too.
We share a lot of the work that we're doing together so that we want to make sure that we're consistent as a district. And that is something the teachers have actually asked for as a priority. We have our new administrative team, essentially 50% new, between the middle school and the high school. And they just want an experience that is consistent. And we can do that. That's easy. And I really have appreciated the elementary principal's support coming here and saying, hey, Jay, this is the way we do things in Portsmouth, but we're very open to any new ideas. So we share each other's emails that go out to the community or to our staffs so that we can see how we're all communicating with each other, what common problems that we have, other common solutions, other problem solving that has to be done for more complex situations. So there's a lot of mentorship, but also sharing, which is nice.
Yeah, and part of your whole leadership philosophy, too. I loved being in your office and pictures of the presidents and it was really great. And you talk so much about building others up, lifting others up.
It's important to me. You know, even if not everybody wants to be a principal, not everybody wants to be a superintendent, but everybody wants to be a leader in their world and that they're trying to achieve. You know, we need to make achievement limitless. And if nobody feels limited, then they feel that anything's possible. And
you model that for the students.
We try, as much as we can. You know, we try. One of the things that we're trying to do is meet the new regulations from the Department of Ed in making sure that all of our students are proficient by graduation. So that came out in 2022. And so we're trying to intervene for students who need those gaps closed academically, whether it's math or ELA, science, but also socio-emotionally as well.
Absolutely.
To make sure that they are turning into the person that they want to be. And if they don't know what that looks like, helping them shape that picture so that when they achieve that goal, that they know what it looks like.
Are you seeing effects of COVID on the group that you've got now? And what do you see?
Yeah, we still see some issues with socialization, trying to develop more pro-social behavior. I think that a lot of our students naturally use technology to communicate, and I think that we've lost some of those natural pieces of personal space and being able to read people's body language. I think that body language tells as much in communication as much as what you're actually saying.
Maybe even more, right?
And then how you say it potentially is taken a different way than the way you were trying to intend to receive it. So those are those social pieces that we find time to teach in the moment with students who are maybe in conflict, or students who are maybe not be talking with their friends, and they have no idea why. That they're 12 and 13 still, and we're trying to remember that and create those situations that they feel comfortable and safe in working through the scenarios.
So you said body language, personal space. Tell me a little bit about that. What are you seeing there?
So obviously we all know what middle school is like, and we have frontal lobe growth that needs to take place, and sometimes we don't know about how our body's reacting to personal space. So sometimes if we're bumping into each other, we're not looking at each other, we may trip and fall just naturally because we're just not there developed. So
it's truly the frontal lobe isn't quite where it needs to be yet.
And we all know this. But we have high expectations for everybody. But if we maintain personal space, and I try to teach students an arm's length for you and an arm's length for somebody else, if you felt you wouldn't need each other. So that's what we're trying to create. Are we going to get into people's personal space? Yes, but recognizing it and then giving ourselves space when we recognize it is the best place to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's terrific. Well, tell me some of the challenges that, I mean, it's such a glowing story. What kind of keeps you up at night? Or what's on your mind, or what's coming down the pipe that
So we're obviously working on rewriting our school improvement plan. That I just sent out a message about that, looking for.
Do you mean physical improvements?
So the Department of Education requires every school to have a school improvement plan based on academics, social, emotional, and facilities.
Okay.
So having goals in those areas. And
so what are the highlights of those three?
So we're looking to build proficiency in ELA and math. As demonstrated on the Round Common Assessment Program. That is how RIDE determines proficiency. It's a part of our accountability report. So we're looking to improve in ELA and math and science, because science is now going to be a part of the accountability report. We also want to make sure that we're implementing social emotional programs that create pro-social moments. So we just finished Rachel's Challenge.
Which is what?
It's a story about Rachel, who is one of the first victims in Columbine. And so their family has put together an organization to support being kind and kindness and being able to recognize situations where people need help. That was something that was Rachel's, that was her behavior in school. That's who she was. So we have students who have accepted the challenge. And so we're trying to promote kindness. We have a student leadership team. We have Miss Sarah Lynn Bixby, who is a reading interventionist, and Mr. Mark Gonzalez, who are the co-chairs of that leadership team. And they're going to start building pro-social programming for our school to create more kindness. We also have a school counselor who's Mr. Adavaye, who is working with the 8th grade students to build a student leadership team there as well. So we're trying to build that leadership mentality and being able to stand up and say, these are the things that we want for our school. It's funny, it's similar to what I try to do with our faculty and staff, and they're trying to do it with our students. So if we can continue with that philosophy, then we'll start to see a lot of limitless behavior.
That's really, really nice. Let's talk about facilities, though. You walked me around, and again, you were like, this is the bones of this school are great. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the bones of the school are excellent. When you looked at what the middle school philosophy was designed for in 1970, you looked at the teaming structure where a group of teachers shared the same students so they can build a culture within a school.
Which like subcultures.
Right, which is representative of the overall school. So we have that developed within the learning centers. We have 4 to 6 classrooms based on the 4 core teachers. And in 8th grade, we have the world language teachers and special education. And then every side of the school has those 2 centers. But every hallway is by a grade level. So you only go in that hallway. So one of the common concerns that I heard from 4th grade families is, what's going to be like for my 5th grader at the middle school? Yeah. Well, they're at the middle school, but they really are only in one hallway.
Like their wing.
Right.
With their own lunch, right? Like, did you say there were like kind of 2 cafeterias or something?
There are 2 cafeterias, one for grades 5 and 6, one for grades 7 and 8.
You must have been like, are you kidding? This is awesome.
Yes, and it's all one level. So there's no stairs.
Right.
So it is a little bit of a sprawling campus. Yeah. But I try to get my steps in like everybody else.
We got a lot of steps in when I visited. I loved that.
Yeah. But the students don't get that many steps in because they're only exposed to that area. So it's really, a lot of 5th grade families, when they came for open house, they said, oh, this is not bad. This is doable for my child, and they're not being exposed to like 8th grade behavior or 8th grade concerns because they're staying in their area. So I think a lot of 5th grade families really appreciate the open house. So I want to think about having one maybe in the spring so that it kind of alleviates those concerns that may exist over the summer as school starts to come. So even if it's just to come see the facility.
Right, yeah, because that's a big transition in, and then we got our 8th graders going out, and you said something about, like, you don't have a 7th grade, you've got, what was it you said about that you guys?
It's just an observation, I've had where, 7th grade, because I only had the 3 grades in my previous experience, 7th grade is kind of like that year where they're really trying to identify who they are. Yeah. And you're pretty much an old 6th grader or a young 8th grader. 7th grade doesn't necessarily exist.
Oh, yes, I kind of loved that.
And, when you kind of talk to people, they say, that makes a lot of sense, but, I'm willing to have an open mind about changing, but that's kind of what I see.
Yeah, that's...
This is my year 20 in education, and it's all been in the middle school, so I've seen a lot.
Oh, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. So any big surprises outside of what we've already talked about?
Not necessarily. No, it's just really exciting. The school is perched really beautifully on the hill on Jepson, and you can see the bay, and it's just a really beautiful feeling to be a part of the Portsmouth Middle School community.
Yeah. So are you one of those principals that you're out there at the buses and saying hi to everybody? What's that look like?
So I'll start the day actually in the 8th grade wing. I try to connect with some of our 8th grade students that I'm working with. And then at the end of the day, I'll go out with the 5th grade buses for a duty, and I try to...
And big smile.
I try to smile, but I'm more focused on the timing to make sure that the train keeps moving. I'm big on the train moving, so that our 5th grade students get on the bus, that everyone makes it, that they go to the next side of the school, so that 7th and 8th graders make it on the bus.
Yeah.
Make sure all the cars are moving in the front. Mrs. Goodwin's really great about moving the cars so the buses can in. It's a lot to move 630 students in about 10 minutes. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, it sounds like you've got the most amazing team of teachers and staff and everything. Do you feel fully resourced? Do you need more? I mean, I guess we could always use more, right?
I think I feel fully resourced for what we're trying to accomplish. If we're going to set some new goals and some big dreams, then we'll have to reassess, and start to go from there.
So what's your biggest dream? And then we've just got a minute or so left, so if you really we're going to kind of go crazy. What's...
I mean, I still haven't really fully consumed everything that exists here in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
One of my goals is to get out into the community and start to meet people in the areas that people congregate and get to know people. So that's my biggest goal.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that everybody's really appreciating kind of getting to know you and your philosophy and your background. It seems so important, that you started in that special ed background and, just with your upbringing and coming through and how that's just kind of weaving through your life and your leadership philosophies and everything.
And I still got a lot more to go.
Yes, don't we all, right? Well, listen, it has been absolutely such a pleasure. And I'll look forward. I'm going to try to get on your newsletters. I've just heard really great things about that, and that's a great way for parents that want to understand what's happening at the middle school to tap in there, right?
And we post all of our emails that go out to families on the website, so everyone can see the archives as well.
All right, and they can access through the website, the overall website. They can see all of that.
Well, they can check my social media accounts. I post all of the emails to there as well.
All right, I'll connect for sure. Well, listen, Jay, what a treat and pleasure, and good luck.
Thank you.
I feel like Portsmouth is very lucky to have you.
Well, I'm lucky to be here.
Thank you, thank you. My guest this week has been Dr. Jay Masterspn, the new principal of the Portsmouth Middle School. We'll see you next time on Portsmouth This Week.